Hello, and welcome to How to Play D&D, the explainer podcast with one experienced dungeon master and one failed scriptwriter to discuss D&D topics. My name is Kinsey, and my ridiculously inadequate pod partner is Lewis McCaffery. Hello, Lewis.
Hello, Connor. How are you?
Hello, I'm good. How are you since the last episode 5 minutes ago?
I was about to say, it's been so long.
Yes.
Yeah.
We've changed clothes.
Have we?
No, that's how long it's been. That's
yeah.
what I mean.
We need to one day just swap clothes.
Yes.
Why not? And see if anyone notices.
Shave.
Yeah.
One of us doesn't shave, one of us does, and then we swap.
Or why don't I shave mine and stick it to your face, and
Beautiful.
you shave yours and stick it to mine?
Yes.
How about that?
Yes.
Perfect.
Like little pubis.
Yeah, see if I don't think anyone would notice, to be honest.
No, it's alright. We're like the same.
Yeah.
Besties.
I mean, we do look identical, so.
Yes, well, I'm your father. So, there we go.
There we go.
Well, talking about fathers, can you guess what today's episode is about?
Is it relationships?
No, it's senses. Let's get to it. Okay, so today's episode is on senses. We once had a player who was scared of dark vision, the in-game sense that allows you to see in the dark. But what are the other senses creatures and players could possibly start with or obtain? Little dig there.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
But,
that was so funny.
It is fucking mad. So.
It was so funny. The tantrum that followed.
Right. We're going to go to the question.
Yes.
Just realised I haven't actually asked the question yet. Lewis, it's been 6 months since I drank any fluids. Should I go to the hospital? What am I doing?
You know what? No, I think if you're still alive after not drinking fluids, then you don't need fluids anyway.
I can't be killed.
No, you can't.
Well, I did drink a little bit of urine. But like only like once a night.
I mean, why not? Fuck it. If that's working for you, I'll say you do you, sir.
Well, my piss drawer was starting to bend.
Your piss what?
My piss drawer.
Oh, Graham, I wonder what that fucking smell was. You know what? Yeah, what you're doing is living a heroic life. There will be songs written about
a martyr.
You. The piss man.
There'll be statues of me in Moscow. The man who risked it all.
Jesus Christ. Why not? Yes. No, you don't go to the hospital.
No. Okay.
You continue in your ways.
My teeth hurt from laughing.
Your teeth?
I think I need to go to the doctors.
Yeah, you do. For that, you do.
All
Not
right.
for the piss king.
Yeah, so senses is a weird one because people don't really talk about it, which is why we're covering it.
No.
I haven't looked up much information on it. And arguably, unless maybe having this conversation, it's hard to know why it's important, how you use it, and what they are, really.
Yeah, I think with senses, it's one of those things that is in every session. A lot of DMs will use it and apply it without realising.
Yeah.
But I think the difference between using it well and using it, like, not very well, but, like, effectively, is remembering that you are using them, if that makes sense.
I think most people don't realise they've got them unless, and every fucking player says this, I've got dark vision. As soon as that, you instantly become that little kid with a lollipop in Shrek. You know, where you just want to fucking punch through his face. That is every player when they go, I've got dark vision. As soon as they hear the idea that the sun has fallen and it is dark, they literally just want, irritating.
I need that.
Irritating.
I need that video with your face. That was fucking hilarious.
I fucking hate them. I hate them.
One bit of advice for any new aspiring DMs: if you want to fuck over or piss off a player, the minute they say they have dark vision, it's magical darkness.
It's magical darkness. Anytime someone says to me they got dark vision, I say it's magical darkness.
Yeah.
Even if it's not, just to give them just one round of them struggling.
Just so they know that you know that they're being a dick.
Yeah, 100%. And that's enough, and everyone laughs at them, and then you carry on, and that's fine.
And then 30 seconds later, they just say, "Can I see then or not? I've got dark vision."
Yeah, they do, yeah.
But yeah.
They go through their character sheet, and then they want to go through your DM, your ass.
Yeah,
as you can tell, senses is a big topic.
Exactly,
Yeah, okay. So I've written here, dark vision I think is the key one everyone thinks of or knows of when starting. What other senses are there?
So, first of all, following on from in terms of sight, because what dark vision does is basically, depending on the range, let's say it's 60 feet in total, that's like the standard, I believe, you basically see of between 30 and 60 feet in darkness as though it's
Yeah,
you see that in dim light as though it's bright light, and in darkness as though it's dim light, up to that range.
And that does extend, like you said, depending on
some races
have 120 feet.
Exactly, but there's also Devil Sight and True Sight, which I believe True Sight Devil Sight is the one where I believe it works in magical darkness as well, so you can just see regardless.
Yeah, don't come to my table saying you got Devil Sight.
No. And which you'll often find Warlocks having, because that often comes with their patron or their pact. And True Sight, I believe, is the one where it's basically like you've basically like got Daredevil senses, so you can have your eyes closed and see. Like, it's that kind of thing.
And it's usually probably around 120 feet, actually.
Something like that.
You can't. True Sight is very good if you're like a ranger, for example.
Exactly.
Your accuracy is probably very good.
Yeah. But there's also the obvious ones when it comes to passive perception, passive insight, things like that.
Yeah.
I was just about to say... Oh, yeah, in terms of perception as well, or any other senses, if you're wild-shaped into, let's say, a wolf, you'll have advantage on perception checks that rely on smell. So there are quite a few that you can... If you can think of a sense, like sight, smell, touch, there's probably something you can use for it.
It is beneficial. You should use them. The DM will probably enjoy it and maybe work that into their sessions following on from that as well. I will go to the third question next, because this is, I think, is the biggest one of the senses. Passive perception comes up quite a lot as a question from players. You've just said it a few times. How does passive perception work?
So passive perception is, let's say you have a party that's travelling through a forest. Oh, we won't even say forest. Let's say they're travelling through a dungeon. Yeah, because in a forest it might be passive survival. But let's say you're doing that. They're not actively checking for traps. They're not telling you they're doing that. They're just walking. They're talking between themselves in roleplay, and they're not necessarily... Their characters will be paying attention, but they're not telling you they are. So they're not saying, I'm going to look for traps. The passive perception, let's say they have a passive perception of 13, but if they were to check for traps, it requires a 15 to, let's say, find a pit trap or something, then they won't see that. It's kind of what you notice in the background whilst you're doing other things.
Yeah, usually to get a high passive perception, you have to be high in, I believe it's intelligence, wisdom? In wisdom. In wisdom. But the point of it being is, if their passive perception, probably a rogue for passive perception because of thievery and whatnot, they're going to be high in that, and arguably you should probably speak to them separately to the group and say, you do notice this trap. They might not necessarily, they don't have to actually say it as a player, but it's quite nice if they actually do take that into account as part of their character build, that you also take it into account and you offer a bit of insight as to their surroundings, because they would naturally notice it.
I think as a DM, it's always good to know what every player's passive perception is, at least. You can do things like passive insight as well if you want to, or passive survival, anything like that. You can use just so because it happens, we all do it, we all forget sometimes to check for traps or to insight someone, whereas if their passive is high enough, they don't have to do the check, they might just notice it, or notice something as well.
And an important thing to know is that doesn't mean that their perception check is that when you ask the team, the group, actually they still get to roll, but if they weren't aware to do that yet and you've not brought it up as a DM, then they've got that to fall back on.
Exactly. And seeing as we're talking a lot about passive perception now, for anyone wondering how to work that out, that kind of thing, it is 8 plus your wisdom, I believe, plus your proficiency bonus.
You said yes to me, and then you've asked about it, and I've said yes to you. Beautiful. We actually don't know. Beautiful.
So if you've got wisdom of, I don't know, plus 4, and you're a level 1 character with a plus 2 proficiency bonus, you'll have passive perception of 14, which is very good.
And arguably, even though obviously you could do that with any stat, and if you want to homebrew senses, but that really only comes about if it's, I would say, not every character sheet has it, even if they do have a decent wisdom. So it's not like, you just get that now, and from now on the rolls have to be high. It's kind of like you're probably best to discuss and go, this is the kind of character I am. I'm quite a character who's very aware of things, more so than, because I'm a thief or because of something happened. And that's how you kind of make that a trait of your character.
Exactly.
It doesn't just happen.
No, exactly. And you can literally, if you are not proficient in perception or something like that, and you have a really low wisdom, you could have a passive perception of 8 or 10. So you will likely not notice everything in that kind of thing, or notice nothing unless you actively make the check.
Kind of answered in the first one, but do senses play a bigger role in gameplay than we think?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, like I said, when you think of it in terms of the passive perception and that, then it only really comes up every now and then. But when you think about it in terms of the dark vision, the advantage on perception checks with smell, survival checks, things like that, even like I said, if you try and add a passive insight kind of thing, it will always be there, because even like insight is kind of how you're perceiving that kind of
what is that? How
what
do
your
they
senses
look
are telling you
during this combat?
Yeah, and I think,
are they telling the truth?
Exactly, and I think as well,
are they smelling the truth?
Yeah, maybe someone farts whenever they lie.
There we go. I don't just fart when I lie.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
I
just fart. Yeah,
it's beautiful.
Yeah.
But as well, it can really help boost your roleplay for players if you're. Even just little things that I don't think a lot of groups do often. But let's say you're having a night at camp or something. You've got like half an hour inset, or let's say 10 minutes of playtime when you're literally just sat at a camp, you're resting for the night. If you're going to roleplay and say what you're cooking for everyone, what you're seeing, those kind of things, it really helps to set the atmosphere for the player and the DM.
Yeah, I think we've looked at it from a role in terms of how the player uses it. But as you said there with the cooking thing, when I'm writing stuff for the sessions, I do try to give not crazy long descriptions. I mean, sometimes they are, but they are trying to cover the senses. That way you can get an idea. You don't have to. You could just be brain dead and you're just staring at me. But if you are engaged, you might really picture that. I hope.
Oh yeah.
I hope.
And one thing I will say, because for any, again, new DMs, if you're trying to boost your explanations, I'll say, by adding senses, I wouldn't even worry about doing it really detailed or making sure you get every one. It's like, whatever you can think of, add it. Like, no one, I don't think anyone at your table will expect you to be as descriptive as like Matt Mercer or something like that, who are fantastic DMs, but their level is like there. Yeah. Most people.
Can players gain new senses as they play?
Oh yeah. I mean, there are, like I said, there are classes you might multiclass into that give you dark vision.
Yeah.
If you increase your wisdom, then you always have the passive perception, but if you increase your wisdom, that will go up. Other than that, I mean, there will be, whether it's through items, classes, that kind of thing.
It's going to be homebrew.
If there's anything homebrew?
I think it will be homebrew to gain new things, really, outside of like what you gain from just leveling in terms of subclassing. It might just be something that the DM brings to the table that they can add. Like it might be beneficial when you go, well, I don't need this, do I? And then something happens in the session purposely set up that requires the players to be able to breathe underwater or that kind of thing.
It can literally be anything, whether it's an item, a punishment like from an NPC or something. Anything like that.
Well, we've kind of covered it across all the questions, but maybe we'll just a line to summarise. What can the DM do to encourage the players to use their senses more?
I think a good way to do it, not even a good way, but a fun and stressful way for players, is put them in a situation, whether it's in a forest or a room or anything like that. Make it magical darkness, make it pitch black, but the enemy can't see either, and have it kind of you're fighting in the dark. You are going to have to use speaking to other players, the other characters there, and tell them that there's no table across the table talk. It's all in character. They're having to rely on their hearing, their touch. If it's against undead, they can smell them, that kind of thing. Obviously, and the reason I say make sure the enemies are blind as well is because otherwise they're not going to rely on the senses. They're going to just panic. Whereas
and swing.
Yeah, make it a puzzle, and then players will naturally just try and figure out the best way they can go about it.
Yeah, definitely. Cool.
Is there anything you can think of?
No, I think that was good. I was going to say touch. I just looked at the room in the dark. I was like, a good one would be a puzzle where you're relying on touch and how that feels. But then that would make me want, as a DM, probably create something that they've got to then close their eyes as players and then feel and work.
Just give
out
them a Rubik's Cube and be like...
Just loads of dildos. Wait, this one's a dildo as well. No, this and the different player has actually got what it is. They can just see what it is, but it's not...
They have everyone else has their eyes open while one player fondles a giant 12-inch cock.
Beautiful.
Horrible.
That's why I don't get to play.
Yeah, I'm never going to do this because I can imagine one day you're going to be like, right, you have to close your eyes, reach out, and I'll open my eyes, and be you with your ass out, and I'm like, fuck's sake, not again.
Okay. All right. Well, on that note, today's adventure has sadly come to a close. We're back again next week with a topic. What's your favourite rhetorical question and why? And as always,
not have been
thank you for tuning in. And if you'd like to join in on the D&D action, then please follow us on Instagram and TikTok at How to Play D&D, or check out the link in our bio to join our Discord server. And for BTS of sessions, bloopers, blogs, early access to episodes, and even live Q&As, check out our Patreon at How to Play D&D. I've been Connor Kinsey.
I've been Lewis McCaffery.
Good day.
Goodbye.